Human trafficking happens all over the globe, and according to the State Department, as many as 27 million people are enslaved at any given time in virtually every country, including this one, the United States. But Southeast Asia is one of the most trafficked regions in the world, and women and girls make up the majority of the victims, often taken into sex slavery. That's the reality a group of dedicated activists and advocates are talking about. They are working to abolish this form of slavery, particularly in trafficking hotspots like Cambodia and Thailand.
We want to bring hope and healing to the women that are in the sex industry.
The ways that we can overcome trauma is to talk about it.
We call forth their identity, who they really are, and we see the beauty in them.
They call themselves the New Abolitionists, and their work and the people that they're working to free are the focus of a new film by the same name. I'm joined now by the film's director, Christina Zorich. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Christina, tell me how you came to this topic.
I met an anti-trafficker at a party in Hollywood in 2012, and she told me some horror stories. And I said, how can I help? I was teaching acting at the time. I didn't think of myself as a filmmaker. I had never made a documentary or a film before. And at that time, I sent her directors and people that could help create fundraising materials for her NGO. And everybody needed money. She said to me, Christina, the money has to go to the girls and the women. And I realized then, that's when I got the idea to make a documentary about the subject matter. And it took a few years later. I sold some property back in New York, was sitting on the cash, and just decided slowly, after a process of really praying about it and really meditating on it, I decided to make the documentary.
So the documentary itself, it follows these two ministries that are working in Cambodia and Thailand. There's also four, excuse me. Yeah. And then, of course, there's some work that's happening through an NGO organization that you do not name because they need to be protected. Is that how dangerous this work is?
Yes.
Okay.
There's things I can't say and can say comfortably, but what I can tell you is while I was in the middle of the edit, there were some problems in a national situation in the government, and one of the NGOs got very frightened that there was going to be blowback. And so that's why there's so much pixelation in the film. I'm trying to protect. It's very difficult to make a documentary where you're trying to raise awareness, and everyone involved wants to do that. They want to raise awareness, educate people about what this is to help stop it. But on the flip side, you've got the danger of, government implications, and then the criminal element of it as well. So it's just, can't even tell you how difficult the process has been for me, and just trying to make sure everybody feels safe, but we get the message out there.
What has been, I guess, the driving force of some of the trafficking in the regions that you cover specifically in this documentary? Is it tourism? Because I know people hear about that. Sometimes it's in movies and things like that. Is it a class issue that's happening there? And I'm thoughtful of the title, The New Abolitionists.
Well, these people have just been assaulted by this issue and given up everything in their life to go be of assistance and help to end it. And while I was studying it, I kept looking. First of all, I was godsmacked by the fact that it exists in modern day when I started. And they're basically, I figured out that there's like 4 ways that they attack it. Rescue, rehabilitation, prosecution, and prevention. I think globally, prosecution is the area where we all have a lot of work to do. But so I studied how they kind of were attacking it, and it's these people have dedicated themselves to this work. I also think that the people who allow themselves to be on camera The ex-victims were very brave, who are, the level of trauma they've experienced is beyond what a lot of us have even gotten near experiencing. So I found them very inspirational and moving to see what the human spirit can do to live through these circumstances and overcome.
So on the ground, is it that, is it that there is a tourism situation that's built around this or is it a manufacturing issue? Is it a worker issue? Is it a class issue? I guess that was what I was trying to get to.
The bottom line is, and the movie answers a lot of these questions or tries to. That's the whole point of it. So please, everybody, watch it to get educated. I try to get everybody to go on the journey that I went on and try to hold on to as much of a cinema verite feeling as I could, but needing to also hold the audience's hand and explain to them what it looks like. But the bottom line is any group that is at risk is at risk. So there's a bunch of what Annie Dieselberg at Nightlight calls push factors, which are, it can be poverty. As she would say, though, not every poor person ends up being trafficked, right? It can be abuse, broken family systems, some kind of trauma in the family. It can be a regional trauma, which of course happened in Southeast Asia, because that was a very rife area in the 50s, 60s, and 70s with that global conflict that was going on, similar to what's happening in the Mideast. Actually, one of the trafficking groups that's featured in the film, they do work in the Mideast now. And one of the women, Andrea Asen, believes that ISIS is using human sex trafficking as a way to fund their activities. But we didn't go off the course. I decided to stay in Southeast Asia because I felt like if it is the most trafficked region, let me learn why and what it is, because the examples there would be kind of very stark and very obvious. And that's what I found. It's more in the open than maybe you would say in this country or other countries where it has to be more hidden. So it's at-risk groups, basically, at-risk families, at-risk children. And sometimes there's all kinds of ways they can end up being trafficked. There was one point that one of the groups made that I thought was really smart. He said, there is a global criminal industry that is up there with drugs and weapons in the top 3. They argue over what number placement it is, if it's number 2 or 1, but it's up there. And usually the criminal industries that are involved in drugs and weapons, not all the time, but can also be trafficking women and children. So it's that, but it also can be what he called freelancers, where it happens on an individual level. And, it's a way that a person survives or a family survives, or they're tricked into it, or they're, abducted, or they're blackmailed for a work situation. And so that's kind of the landscape, but I do think that any at-risk group is going to be approached or could be approached possibly because they're vulnerable. They're in a vulnerable circumstance.
Right. And for folks who haven't seen this film yet, you talk about taking them on this journey. At the end of that journey, what do you hope people do? What can they do? Because, it's a lot of powerful storytelling that's happening. So what can a person at home who's taken this journey with you, what can they do at the end of that?
Well, there's a What Can I Do page. So every group or individual I've met along the way that we did the film festival circuit. We met people that do anti-trafficking work. Subsequently, I was asked to be a host on a doc feature about trafficking in the States. We met a bunch of people, ex-intelligence officers, ex-traffic victims, people who've dedicated their lives in the States to this work. And so if you go to that page, you can get all the information. It's www.thenewabolitionistdoc, as in doc.com. And then if you want to, God willing, everyone will watch. You go to the Where to Watch page on our website. And and please, if people enjoy the film, I don't know, that's the wrong word to use. If they found the film of value and merit, please rate us on Amazon and on, where else? IMDb. Give us a good rating and good review and follow us on social media. And just get educated. I'm trying to make it so that the social media for the film, I start dropping information in groups that I think the biggest thing is to find for yourself what your part is to play. I found making the documentary, which is, you know, at this point, 8 years of my life, self-funding this. My mom came on as a producer in the middle of the edit and saved the project. Thank God, you know, God bless her for it. And I was able to cross the finish line where others would not. So I'm very indebted to her for that and always will be grateful. But I say, take that time you need. You don't have to answer the question right away. It took me a year to figure out what I was going to do. I had to really sit on it and think about it. And maybe it's a smaller part someone plays. Maybe they get involved in sponsoring a family or helping educate a child in an at-risk family. But just do your due diligence and research different groups that you can help. And I also think we all collectively have to kind of really put pressure on government officials, the police locally and all over the world to take action and really be involved in ending this from the legal standpoint and governmental standpoint and doing what we can. We've moved forward and made some progress with the national hotline and people are doing raids, but there's just way more work to be done. It's not over. The fight is not over in our country and globally. So
That's right. That's right. Well, Christina Zorich, thank you so much for your time.
thank you for having me.
And for more information on how to watch the film, head to newabolitionistdoc.com.